It is September 7th, 1850, and I'm James Jameson. Today's show is brought to you by Johnsonville Bratwurst. Enjoyable bratwurst, ready to eat. Today we have our compromise expert, Nathaniel Brocard, to discuss the recent compromise of 1850.
Thanks, James. After extensive debates between John Calhoun, Daniel Webster, and Henry Clay, it was Clay's proposal that survived. In his compromise, California was admitted as a free state and the slave trade was abolished. Also, new fugitive slave laws were introduced and Texas was granted $10 million.
Who do you think benefited most from the compromise, the North or the South?
Personally, James, it looks to me as though the South who gained the most from this compromise.
Today is March 30th, 1852, and I'm James Jameson. Today we would like to introduce you to our book critic, Clarence Ferguson. He recently read Uncle Tom's Cabin, which has been causing an uproar in communities across America. Well, Clarence, tell us about the book.
Well, thank you, James. While I do not want to spoil any of the plots, I can tell you this is a very motivated novel written by Harriet Beecher Stowe. This novel carries many of the ideas of the abolitionist movement and leaves an emotional mark on the reader. The book has garnered a large following and is helping to increase awareness for the abolitionist cause.
James Jameson, and today is January 4th, 1854. As many of you know, Nebraska has yet to be settled and is not yet considered a territory. It appears Congress is in no rush to make Nebraska a territory. Let's ask political analyst Nathaniel Brocard why.
Thank you, James. Well, folks, if Nebraska becomes a territory, then the issue of slavery rises again. A proposed piece of legislation by Illinois Senator Stephen Douglas has rocked the political world. It states that Nebraska would become a territory, but while also allowing slavery. This would repeal the Missouri Compromise, which dictates that slavery is prohibited above the 36-degree parallel, which Nebraska is above. Many are accusing Douglas of political maneuvering so that the new Transcontinental Railroad will go through Chicago. Regardless of his motives, Douglas' new bill will certainly have large repercussions in the North and the South.
May 5th, 1856, and I'm James Jameson. We go now to our on-site reporter, Enos Goldfinch, in Topeka, Kansas, to hear about the Bleeding Kansas crisis.
Tensions here in Kansas are at an all-time high. Controversy over whether Kansas should be a free or slave state have driven pro- and anti-slavery groups to violence. Reports of violence among the two groups have been many, the latest being the Potawatomi massacre. The cause of this turmoil has been attributed to the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which repealed the Missouri Compromise and replaced it with popular sovereignty. Territorial governments may now choose to allow or disallow slavery.
Today is March 6, 1857, and I'm James Jameson. We bring news of a landmark Supreme Court case decision. Chief Justice Roger Taney has ruled in favor of Sanford in the case of Dred Scott versus Sanford. In doing so, Taney has ruled that all blacks, slave or free, could never become citizens of the United States. This also ruled that Congress had no right to restrict slavery in the states and territories. Obviously, this has caused an uproar among the abolitionist movements. We asked abolitionist Thaddeus T. Phoenix what his thoughts on the recent court case were.
Thanks, James. To quote Frederick Douglass, my answer, and no thanks to the slaveholding wing of the Supreme Court, my hopes were never brighter than now. I have no fear that the national conscience will be put to sleep by such an open, glaring, and scandalous tissue of lies as that decision is, and has been, and over has shown to be.
And there you have it. Now we will see how the rest of the nation reacts to this monumental decision. I'm James Jameson, and today is October 15th, 1858. In the recent Lincoln-Douglas debates, the topic of the morality of slavery came up. Douglas said that he has no moral position on the issue, but here's an excerpt from Lincoln's rebuttal.
Slavery is definitely morally wrong. If blacks are not entitled to basic rights, then other groups might also be neglected of their basic rights. I don't think...
Douglas's neutral position will allow him to comfortably win re-election, but Lincoln's support is growing substantially both in and outside Illinois after these debates. That's all. Today is October 18th, 1859, and I'm James Jameson. We have breaking news from Harper's Ferry. We go to our on-scene reporter, Enos Goldfinch, who is monitoring the ongoing situation.
Oregon.
Thanks, James. Here I am outside the Harper's Ferry Arsenal, and the situation is drastic. Suspected terrorist John Brown, wanted for his actions in Kansas, is housed inside with about 18 other rebels. It is believed that Brown's goal was to start a slave insurrection. The arsenal is surrounded by federal forces led by Robert E. Lee. At least 10 of Brown's men are confirmed dead, and it seems he may be on the verge of surrendering. Look, here he comes out now. We're going to leave the scene. Back to you, James.
November 6th, 1860. I'm James Jameson, and with me is Levi Washington. This just in, the final vote of the U.S. presidential election has been tallied, and we have a new president.
That's right, James. The winner of the 1860 presidential election is Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln becomes the 16th president of the United States and also becomes the first Republican to be elected president.
However, he only received 40% of the popular vote, and he received little to no votes from the slave states. Rumors of secession are beginning to surface in the southern states. I'm James Jameson, and today is April 12th, 1861. We're back with more information on the Fort Sumter crisis. It appears that Confederate forces led by P.G.T. Beauregard are bombarding Fort Sumter, South Carolina. It seems that a surrender of the fort is imminent. The North has begun mobilizing, and the people of the Union are calling for a swift response. Here's our political analyst, Nathaniel Brocard. Please, tell us who has the advantage in the coming war.
Well, James, both sides' goals are very different. The North goal is to reunite the Union and recapture Confederate land. However, the Confederacy's goals are to stay independent and to achieve recognition over other sovereign nations. The North has vastly more developed industry and transportation and a much larger population. The facts show that North have a distinct advantage, but sometimes luck and skill in the battlefield can decide a conflict.
It's October 18th, 1859, and I'm James Jameson. Breaking news from Harper's Ferry. We go to our on-scene... His name's Enos. Alright, it's gonna take a little bit. Alright. Today is October 18th, 1859, and I'm your host. Damn it!
Keep
It's
going.
not your host. Alright, you gotta...
Just keep going.
Alright. Today is October 18th, 1859, and I'm James Jameson. We have breaking news from Harper's Ferry. We go to our on-scene reporter.
I'll leave, so I'm not
Okay. Mom, can you give me... I'm James... I can't do it. I'm James Jameson. I'm...
Stop. Just wait once. Alright.
I'm James... No, I'm not saying... I am James Jameson. Alright. I am James Jameson.
Are you sure?
I don't know. Today is March 6th, 1857, and I'm James James.
I think that's what you need to do.
And I'm James.
You just got the sausages in the picture.
Are you serious?
Just the sausage. We should leave it. Oh, we should have kept going.
And this segment is brought to you by Johnsonville Bronx.